Did it catch the signal?
It usually takes about 10 seconds for it to kind of work its way through. And there you go.
I should sing. Well, good afternoon. I hope everybody is doing well and had a very fantastic event for the last 2 days. I know myself, I had a very good event. I'm really excited when I heard I'm going to come to California to present at this event, and specifically in Silicon Valley, because that's where all the technology was born. All the big brains, all the big companies got started here. And specifically for me, because growing since I was a child, using Yahoo and using Google and then using Apple and listening and hearing about all these big names, and you never get a chance to see them. So I went this afternoon and yesterday just to take pictures with all the signs, so I said I made it. So my dream come true. I was very excited, so I'm very happy. And you should feel very fortunate too. All right. I'm representing Kapish New Media. So, horses. What the heck is the connection between horses and AR? In 1920s, there were consultants and brains, the smartest people in the world, gathered in New York to solve one problem, which was a lot of manures, mountains of manures in New York, and they didn't know what to do with them. So they gathered for conferences just like this every 2-3 days to figure out how can they find a solution for manures, or what they're going to do with it. And during all these discussions, a new industry was introduced, and this industry called the car industry. And then the entire mountains of manures disappear. Right? So my premise is, and the talk is, will augmented reality save the print industry or not, is the same as manures. People are going to discussions to figure out whether this industry will stay or how can we save this industry, and then maybe a new industry came out to solve the entire problem and say, you know, just sit down at home and problem will be solved. So that's for me, this is the argument, is will it be the same as manures? It's the same augmented reality as the industry will come and vanish the print industry. So we call ourselves at Kapish problem solvers. We are problem solvers. And what do I mean by that? We get presented by a problem, and our job is to solve it. So let me take you back to where we got this from. I came originally from Iraq. I moved to Canada about 5 years ago, and I finished my degree in engineering, in computer and architecture engineering from University of Technology. The entire premise of engineering is there is a problem you need to solve as an engineer. So you're presented with any kind of problems, and your job is to find a solution for this problem. So that's how I learned to be a problem solver. Then I moved to study film, which is totally on the other side of the brain, on the other side of the industry. And I learned to solve the problems of how can I make people tell stories on camera, get them to communicate. Then I came to Canada to study another industry, which is security industry and the IT industry. So I studied management and communication. And my job is how can I get IT people to communicate better? And from a security perspective, how can we solve as many threats as possible? How can we reduce them? So that's why we call ourselves problem solvers. So can AR save the print industry? We got presented with this problem. Well, can AR save the print industry? 4 years ago, I love this industry. So 4 years ago, as I said, we look at AR at Kapish. Kapish, some people know what the word Kapish means. Anybody here knows what Kapish means? Kapish is a very aggressive word. Some of you know it means, did you get it? Did you understand it? Did it come through? So that was the whole idea, is how can we create messages that people or customers get them? And that's the whole premise of the advertising or the business model, is how can we create something that so our customers can get it? So when they say Kapish, the customers say, Kapish. Then that's the entire thing came out. So our job was a communication. We started in a communication and digital content creation company. And we got presented with a huge problem, which was the print industry is dying. There's no way to solve it. It's going to be vanished in 15 years. What can we do to keep this business keep this industry in business or keep them in business? So that's where we started looking. You know, as an engineer, wore our glasses, just like this one, the augmented glasses, and we looked at this problem. How can we solve it? So what is the problem? The first question as an engineer, we ask, what is the problem? And the problem was, as our define is, how can we solve the print industry? So we said, okay, this is your problem. We need to go define it, find why. And we find two things for the print industry. As an advertiser, as a publisher, you have two concerns. Are people reading your print? Whether it's a magazine, a newspaper, are they reading it? And the other part is, are people taking the action you want them to take? These are the two major issues. People read it, people take an action. There's no other solution. There's no other problem. So he said, okay, that's the concern. How many of you actually read a newspaper or a magazine? When was the last time actually you read a newspaper or a magazine? Right? Some of you, maybe 25%, read a newspaper or a magazine. I have a stack of them. So let's take a case study, which we did. Here's a newspaper or a magazine publishing industry sending 40,000 subscribers, 40,000 magazines around. The problem is, for the publisher, is when you get the newspaper at home, there are two things. Either you open it, you read it, flip through it quickly, or you throw it and goes to the recycle. The publisher has no idea whatsoever that somebody actually looked at this newspaper. There's no way to track it. So that was the problem, is how can we know that people actually read it? With digital, you can analyze it, you can do analytics, and you know what's going on. But with the static, you can't. So we started this research based on these two premises. How would people read it, and people take an action? So then we said, okay. We went through many solutions. As I said, we're not an augmented reality solution company. We're not. When we started, we are a problem-solving company. We solve problems. And our vision was to think beyond. Any problem you want to solve, just think beyond it. And that's why you see think beyond all the time coming on the screen. So what we found with augmented reality in general, it cuts through the media fog. Media fog and augmented reality just cuts through that fog. So what does AR do? What does augmented reality? Everybody tried to figure it out, and the toughest thing is to define augmented reality for people who never heard of augmented reality. How many of you guys have actually tried to explain augmented reality to someone, and you would never? For those of you who never raised your hand, can I talk to you after I do? Because there is something we're doing wrong. It's very tough to explain augmented reality to people who never heard of it, unless you show them. Talking about explaining it over the phone. A cold call, hi, we do augmented reality. What the heck is augmented reality? So what augmented reality does, this. That's all what it does. Right? That's all what it does. It opens people's eyes. That's all what it does. That's it. That's what augmented reality does. From a definition, it opens your eyes. That's it. So going back to the media fog. What is the media fog? If we describe the print industry, there are three main players in the print industry. Number one is the publishing house, the companies that publishing these, right? And there are the advertisers, and there are the users, the consumers. So three main things. So for advertisers, what they need is they need hot leads and access to mobile market. That's all what they need. Advertisers need two things. Need hot leads, that you advertise because you want hot leads. And number two, you want access to the mobile users. For publishers, it's two things. It's different. Number one is hot leads, and you need subscribers, loyal subscribers. So that's when we started, with these the two ideas after the research, that's when we started expanding our horizon. So we asked people, we went and we did the research, 18 months worth of research on users. We asked them a question, clear question, and we had a video camera in place. We recorded every single behavior. We said, okay, do you read newspaper or magazine, just like the same way I asked you? Some people said no, some people said yes. Okay. For those who read it, we just gave them a magazine, just a regular magazine. I just brought it this way. And I said, okay, can you please flip through the magazine and tell me which ad attracted or page attracted your attention? So they opened it, they literally just flipped through it like this, and they pointed at 5, 6, 7. This is the one. No follow-up question. Okay. So they're not reading all of it. The next question we asked, we said, which ad or page you will highly buy or would you highly read? That's the whole premise. Which one did get your attention? Kapish. So they pointed at 2 and 3. Wow. We looked at this data. Then we said, okay. And the span between the page that they flipped through it was less than a half a second. But when they stuck on the one that they liked, it was about 2 seconds to 3 seconds, not more than that. Then we said, okay, here's an augmented version of this newspaper. So we gave them a mobile and iPad with a newspaper. And we just recorded the look. And the look was this. The eyes were open, the interactivity increased, and the readership increased. Everybody opened their eyes. And it was not it was a wow factor in a way, but it was just an eye-opening. So I said, wow, this is interesting. So we recorded the time, and the time they spent on every single page, on every single ad, it was 3 to 10 times more than what they spent it before. So on average, between 15 and 30 seconds they spend interacting with this ad or a piece of paper or anything, whether it's relevant or anything, clicking, looking. And now we found that the interest has increased. They're more interested to hear, to listen, to read, to see what's going on. So I said, wow, this is the media fog. Unbelievable. So for advertisers, as I said, it's hot leads. For publishers, they're loyal subscribers. See, the problem with users, we ask them why you don't read. There are 3 main problems why print industry is not doing very well. 3 things. Number 1 is the media fog assumes, as assumption, is that there are a lot of information coming on you from every single direction, every single second. Your emails, TV, advertisement, newspaper, brochures. How many pieces of information you read every single second? From an augmented reality development, they call it the frame rate. How do you refresh your memory? Your Twitter is coming, your Facebook, and you're interacting with all of them. So literally, there is a media fog coming to you from every single direction, and you don't know what to take. So that's problem number 1 for users, consumers. Problem number 2 is attention deficit, is you don't spend a lot of time interacting or reading this, and that's the problem, because a lot of information, and you have no mechanism in your brain to filter this information, this kind of information. So that's the problem, attention deficit. So a lot of information coming to your direction, attention deficit. And then, what was the third one? I totally forgot. So then we said, okay, we scaled and we start building our platform based on this. How many people do augmented reality development in here? What's the first question you get asked is ROI. Do you get asked this question a lot? What's ROI? How can it make me more money? How? And that question literally was on every single presentation. How can this make us more money? And this is what we said. Okay, we sat down and focus a group again to analyze this problem, and this is what we found. We found augmented reality, what it does, it opens your eyes. It makes you spend more time, sticky time. We call it sticky time. You spend more time on an ad or a paper, on a regular paper, 3, 4, 5 times. The more time you spend on an ad, on a page interacting with it, increases your interest level. So more time you spend increases your interest level. And when the combination of the time you spend and the increase in interest will have increase in call to action, probability of call to action. So with augmented reality, all what it does, it's make people spend more time on that ad from a print perspective. That's all. And that more time interacting with it, you're more aware, you're more educated, and your interest is increased. And more time, more interest, you'll have high probability of going to call to action. See, the problem we think in the augmented reality world, and I've seen it many, many times, even with us, 6 months ago, we used to say we're an augmented reality solution company. We do augmented reality development. This is what we do. And people move away from the problem to understanding what the heck is augmented reality. Companies don't know what augmented reality. They're actually not receptive to new technology. They don't care about the new technology. They want a solution. So we stop saying we're augmented reality solution. We just have a software that this is what it does. You point your mobile on any picture, any print, and this print will come to life. Are you interested? Yes. Let's talk. The challenge with what we saw, what we always raising, same thing as Brian mentioned earlier, is that the content is created just to create the wow factor. That's all what it creates. There's no objective behind it to reach certain customers. There's no objective of creating a fantastic content that has a capability of creating awareness or increasing sales, unless the ones that are really, really designed very, very well. People are not looking for augmented reality solution. Users are not looking for augmented reality. I know my grandma is definitely not looking for augmented reality solution. But people are looking for a way of interactivity, a way of increasing effectiveness. As my friend Rich was talking about it 2 days ago, he said when HTML came out, people are not interested in HTML. People are interested in web pages. The problem is they want to get online, they want a web page. They don't care about whether it's made out of HTML or PHP or anything. They want a solution, not a new problem. Technology creates a new problem. Solution creates a solution. So I agree with my friend Rich, because people are not looking for another problem and not looking for technology. They're looking for solution. Nobody cares about how the engine works. People want to get from A to B. I don't care how the engine works. Just give me a car that make sure it gets me from A to B. So the content I see a lot, it's beautiful, but take the wow factor out of it and see what happens. It doesn't stick in your mind. That's the whole idea. It doesn't stick in your mind. So the content needs to be created toward the consumer, just like what Brian says. And I agree with him, because our solution, we don't care about augmented reality. We really care about creating a fantastic content that increases call to action. That's it. And this is our assumption, is that more time, and we got a number, more time people spend on advertisement or a print will increase the interest, and the interest combined with the time will increase the power to call to action. So now the new challenge is getting advertisers or getting publishers to adopt the technology. In Canada, because our company is located in Vancouver, Canada. In Canada, there is 1,400 newspapers. Can you imagine how many of them have digital edition? Just digital version of the newspaper or the magazine. About 15%. 15% of the publishing house have a digital content, have a digital edition, whether it's a PDF, whether it's an online. Some of them even don't update their online presence, unless the bigger ones. So when we went and we talked to a lot of publishing, when we start our strategic partnership, we did not tell them that we are an augmented reality. All what we said is we're going to move you from digital content to a new media, from a digital media to a new media, static to augmented. As I said, it doesn't matter whether it's augmented or anything, but it's a new media that will increase interactivity, increase the time people spend interacting with your content. And this will influence the call to action. It does not always increase call to action, but influences the call to action. And that's the difference. So sticky time, sticky eyeballs create sticky customers. So it cuts through the media fog. And that's what augmented reality. And that's the premise. Will augmented reality save the print industry? Absolutely, 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 and even more, even more, absolutely. Absolutely, it will save every single newspaper if they knew how to do it very well. My understanding is that journalists, editors, and writers are the best message crafters on the planet. They are the one that studied it, the one that designed it, the one that went through it. So if they don't know how to create better messages that stick, nobody here can. So will augmented reality save the print industry? Absolutely. And I agree with it 2,000%. That's the end of my talk, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask me. Thank you.
So I'm a bit of a skeptic. Couple different things. Did you test like a fall-off factor? You were talking about people being kind of like wowed. We had other companies talking about they never were able to get repeat business from the advertising industry because the wow factor kind of like poof. I mean, it disappeared after a while. And the other thing is that if you teach people to use their iPhones or their iPads with print, aren't they just going to be more accustomed to just go to digital completely? I'm just worried that you introduce this, everybody will switch to online.
Thank you very much. So let me repeat what you said, just make sure that I understand it completely. Number one, have you tested a follow-up procedure, right? Follow-up procedure, whether there is a follow-up business, right?
Well, I mean, are the customers actually continuing to actually use the same technology once the novelty wears off?
Okay, good. After the wow factor, beyond the wow factor, right? Okay. And number two is making sure that there is a learning curve.
No, it's basically the issue is that if you're teaching everybody to, your premises is that you're making the experience really cool with using augmented reality and for print. But I would just think that if people are using their mobile phones or their iPads to have an augmented reality experience with a printed media, you're really just teaching them to go and get a better experience online because they've got the devices already. So I'm not quite sure how sticky this really is.
Okay.
I think it's like you got the wow factor once, and then all you got to do is get conversion to all digital.
Okay, very, very good. Two questions. So number one, just let me answer for a follow-up business, whether people are interacting with it. Yes, beyond the wow factor, we tested it 4 times, and the data increased from 3% to 17% to 32%. And that call to action, the call to action does not mean more sales. The call to action means subscription to a newsletter, mean clicking more stuff, mean interacting with it, whatever that message is. It doesn't mean more sales, but call to action, whatever you want to define it. For charity, when we worked, it was not important that for them to sell something, but it was for them to get a feedback whether their message was being conveyed, and a follow-up process. So from few projects, there was an increase from a 3% to a 32% after maybe within 4-month period. And the other part is educating the users to use their mobile. That's a challenging. You said, why do I need a new print? Well, the publishing will stay. The premise of augmented reality is not going to save the print industry. The print industry is going to die in about 15 years, 15 to 17 years. But the whole thing about it is going to reduce, it's going to increase the time prints will stay in business till about maybe 25, 26 years. Or maybe even, it will take it even further, maybe take it up. So the premise is not whether this industry will die. Not in every single aspect, but from a magazine and newspaper. It just, people are more aware of making everything come to them rather than going to it. So the industry will continue. But we're saying that our promise is this going to reduce, increase the time where you're going to decline. So if you expect it to decline in 2025, this will maybe decline you at 2035 with using augmented reality. Now, everybody's doing augmented reality as of this room. See, there is a huge early adoption problem. And only the people who are looking for the cool wow factor will be interacting with it. And it's still needed 2 years to mature. But there are the ones that just want to get the wow factor. That's it. I want to show my buddies that I'm the only one that can use it. I'm the cool guy. And this is what publishing houses is attracting, is the cool guy, even with augmented reality. Just be the cool. See how the cool is what we're bringing our solution. But early adoption will happen until we hit the chasm with augmented reality, and some companies will make it, some of them will not make it. Does that answer your question? Okay. Sure? Do you want to come to the mic so people can hear it?
So you're giving very definite numbers, like 15 years, right? Where are you getting those numbers from?
From publishing houses.
Okay.
From the newspapers and magazines themselves. Yeah.
I run a company called Pop Our Books, and we're augmenting our book line. And I think you've got a valid point, but the one missing mark in AR is don't provide the same content on the digital version that you are online. Your augmented content is an enhanced layer of content that's not normally going to be there. So when a child opens up a book, they're seeing content that they can then purchase on an ebook, but then additional content in an AR environment that's not normally there. So it allows them not to just drive traffic to a digital environment, but it gives them an enhanced reality. And so that's where we're finding success with our AR products, is we're giving them a print version, but the e-version is a same book, but the analog or AR version on top of that is a completely new experience. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making this point, because yes, if you provide two people two alternatives, one of them is to do another step, which is clicking 5-6 clicks until you get to the experience, rather than going and reading it. It does not make any sense. You need new content all the time. Otherwise, the cool wow factor is going to disappear. And the question earlier, why people need to have this print in order to view this experience rather than seeing it digital. Well, the cool factor about augmented reality is that this 3D object cannot be tracked without an actual physical object. How do you track it? I've never seen a technology. You need a physical object to overlay the information, then you can see the wow factor interact with it, than doing it digital, just seeing the digital edition, clicking here and there. You're creating a new layering information. So that is the difference. Sure. Please jump in on the mic. It's almost there. You know, you're going to go out tonight, home.
You mentioned educating the users that this experience is available. Can you talk more about what your user studies showed? Specifically, did you hand these case studies a working iPad or mobile device and say, okay, now experience the print? Or did you hand them the print with some call to action and then see if they actually downloaded?
Very good question. What we did, we actually used we used Metaio. We partnered with Metaio, and we used their creator to create content because it was the easiest. Just put it and deploy it, put a 3D object on top of it, and everything will be easy. Because we want it within a timeline. We gave them our own iPads. Just two iPads, and we just gave them the magazine, and we gave them the iPad afterwards. So they asked, how do you do this? How do you get this? We said, it's coming, but we're just here to look at the best factor. So from educating the users is the toughest thing ever. It's the toughest thing, because people don't like to download a new app to experience something new that tell them to add a new app. Somebody mentioned it yesterday. They said the lifespan of somebody keeping an app and using it is about 4 months. So we don't want to have a new app on the tablet that's just going to be not going to be used after 4 months. Questions?
Anybody else? Okay. Well, I think that concludes this talk then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And drive